Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're tackling a massive question. Can you just transfer your flight ticket to someone else? Look, we've all been there, right? Or at least thought about it. You drop some serious cash on a flight, but then life happens. An emergency pops up out of nowhere, plans completely change, and you literally just can't travel anymore. But hey, you've got a friend or family member who'd absolutely jump at the chance to use it.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. Can I just hand this flight ticket over to someone else? Honestly, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? Like, why not? Well, this is the exact dilemma we're going to solve today. And it's a topic that's absolutely critical for Nigerian and African travelers to totally understand before they even think about heading out to the airport.
So, what's the verdict? The honest, hard truth here is no. Most of the time, the answer is just an absolute, uncompromising no. Flight tickets, by and large, are completely non-transferable. Period.
Now, the mechanics behind this strict rule are actually pretty interesting. See, once you hit that book button and pay for the ticket, it becomes permanently name-specific. It's legally and digitally locked directly to your passport and your personal details. You're not just buying a random seat on a bus, you know? You're buying clearance for you and literally only you to cross international borders. Let's make this real. Imagine this high-stakes scenario. You buy a ticket from Lagos to London, and it costs you a staggering 1.2 million naira. I mean, that is a massive investment. But then an urgent emergency hits. You can't go. So you think, I'll just give the ticket in for my brother. He packs up, heads to the airport, struts right up to the check-in counter, and bam! He's flat out denied boarding because the names don't match.
And the devastating consequence of that? Total financial loss. Because your brother couldn't fly and you obviously weren't there to take the flight, you, the original buyer, lose that entire 1.2 million naira ticket value. There's zero refund and there's absolutely no transfer allowed after the fact. It is literally a nightmare scenario, and the crazy part is, it happens every single week.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why do airlines enforce these incredibly strict, non-negotiable rules? Well, first off, they've got to prevent fraud. Second, they need to stop black market ticket sales, basically preventing scalpers from buying up all the cheap seats and reselling them for a massive premium. And third, which is arguably the most crucial, they have to mitigate security risks. Aviation security absolutely demands that they know exactly who is sitting in every single seat. Now, this rule actually hits much harder for specific demographics. There are extra risks involved here for African travelers. International airlines are exceptionally strict with passengers coming from places they classify as high-risk countries. So if you're traveling from many African nations, you're automatically facing much tighter immigration and security checks right out of the gate. A mismatched name? That is an instant, massive red flag.
And unfortunately, the research highlights a huge trap because, wherever there's strict regulation, there are scammers ready to exploit it. Please, never fall for these fake agents on social media who falsely claim they've got some sort of special insider access and can magically transfer flight tickets for you. They can't. They're just going to take your money and disappear.
But let's pivot to a tiny glimmer of hope. While full person-to-person transfers are universally banned, a few airlines will allow a simple name change for a fee. Usually, we're talking anywhere from $50 to $250. But keep in mind, this means fixing a typo, right? Or maybe updating a maiden name to a married name. A minor correction like that is vastly different from transferring the whole ticket to a completely different human being.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the rules actually shift depending on your destination. On one side, you have international flights, which carry very strict rules, particularly for high-risk countries like we just talked about. But compare that to domestic flights. Domestic travel, or sometimes those high-tier business class tickets, are often way more flexible. So the type of flight you book completely changes how strict these rules actually are. So instead of panicking, let's look at the smart, empowered alternatives to attempting a doomed ticket transfer. If it's just a simple typo, request a name change directly from the airline, and do it early. If it's not a typo, check your cancellation policy. See if you can cancel it for airline credit and then rebook entirely in the new person's name. Or, worst case, just transfer the funds directly to the other person and let them book a fresh ticket. Actually, I want to reiterate that last point, because transferring the funds is the safest option, period. Just sending the money to your friend or family member so they can legitimately book a fresh ticket under their own passport details, that is always the safest route to take. It literally guarantees zero drama at the airport. Which brings us to the golden rule of modern travel. You have to always read the fare rules. Listen, if your travel plans are even slightly uncertain, you really must read the fine print before buying. Opt for flexible or refundable tickets. Yeah, sure, they might cost a little bit more upfront, but think of it as your insurance policy against a total loss.
Ultimately, your main goal is to avoid costly mistakes. Attempting an unapproved transfer almost always results in completely ruined travel plans and the total loss of your money. Careful planning and really understanding the airline-specific policies is definitely your best defense. And luckily, there are resources that basically do all this for you.
Because navigating all this can be super complex, the source material highlights organizations like Travul.org. Their entire focus is actively helping travelers avoid these exact nightmares by booking the right flexible tickets from day one. Their team helps out with effortlessly changing travel dates and even planning really complex, massive international itineraries. I'm talking things like full World Cup 2026 trips.
If you feel like you need an expert in your corner, you can check out their contact info across the web and social media. You can find their website, direct WhatsApp, and email, along with their handle, Travelism, across all platforms. Definitely a great resource to have ready before you hit book. But looking back at all these incredibly strict rules, it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. In an era where we can digitally transfer thousands of dollars across the globe in seconds, why do airlines still treat our ticket identities like we're stuck in 1999? Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.